Okay, so monitoring and evaluation framework is supposed to each cluster is supposed to have monitoring and evaluation framework. It actually shows what you're supposed to monitor for your humanitarian response plan, and the framework should be developed in line with the humanitarian response plan and during the development of the HRP. We have developed a template for the monitoring and evaluation framework as recommended for the nutrition clusters. However, in many instances, OCHA develops the monitoring and evaluation framework, which is developed for all the clusters in a country. They usually have a template which they adapt according to their needs in each country, and then they ask every cluster to use this template. So before using our recommended monitoring and evaluation framework, I would recommend everybody to go to OCHA during the development of the HRP process and ask if there is any template for all the clusters to use. Usually there are not big difference between what we are recommending as monitoring and evaluation framework and what OCHA is developing, because they all are developed based on the same information and on the same thinking, why would you need this, and therefore it has absolutely, well, very similar structure. So you see now on your screen monitoring and evaluation framework template. And then there is also example which we developed for you, so you can just go through it and better understand how your monitoring and evaluation framework should be structured. It has the same columns that the monitoring evaluation framework template. However, we filled it in. I can't say that this example is a perfect example. We were not trying to make it perfect. We just took one of the humanitarian response plan and we just developed an example based on what was in the plan for one of the cluster objectives. So let's go through the framework. And okay, Abel has internet network issue. Abel, can you say what's your problem? My volume is low. Okay, I can put my volume up. Is it better right now? Hello?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay. Okay, so shall we continue? Okay. So let's take the example we have now and see how you would develop the monitoring and evaluation framework. So usually, as absolute minimum, you have to agree on indicators you are going to monitor with your partners. It's done in a different way in countries. It can be facilitated by the cluster coordinator, by the SAG members. It can be facilitated by information management officer, for example, or information management working group of the cluster can have a separate meeting to discuss on indicators, or maybe all the partners would be immediately involved. So it's there are many ways to do it. However, the partners should be involved in development of the indicator and at least, and then based on the indicators and the targets, case load and so on, you develop the monitoring and evaluation framework, which with the main purpose to show how you're going and what indicators you are going to collect and how. So in order to create a monitoring evaluation framework, you first put your cluster objectives in the humanitarian response plan. Here you have one of the objectives from the cluster. Usually for the objective, you have several number of activities. Here, in this example, you have not applicable for the current indicator on the global acute malnutrition, because this is indicator for the objectives, which means that it's outcome indicator. However, for example, if you have output indicators, like number of boys and girls screened for acute malnutrition, you would have activity for that indicator. So after objectives, you put activities, then location of where it's activities, will be held, and then cluster indicator to measure objectives or activities. I am not going to talk much about the how you are choosing these cluster indicators now, because we are going to discuss it when we discuss indicators registry. Here I'm just saying that you put your indicators. You put your caseload, which is number of people in need. For the current indicator, for example, you would have 600,000 boys and girls aged 0 to 59 months with moderate acute malnutrition newly admitted to treatment. So you put 600,000. You put your target, which you agree with the partners, and then disaggregated by sex. So how many males and females for this target, and then target as percent of caseload. We ask to put this also because then it's clear how much of those in need you actually target to reach. Afterwards, you have to put your numerator and denominator for the current indicator. Let me just have some example where you have both. For example, you have cluster indicator, percentage of boys and girls aged 0 to 59 months with some admitted for treatment recovered. So you would need actually to collect this indicator. You would need to collect two indicators, which is one, okay, so it's number of boys and girls recovered and number of boys and girls admitted. So then you can calculate this percentage. And data collection methods, this you would collect, for example, from monthly partner reports or weekly partner reports or whatever you agreed with partners to collect it. But it can be, for example, that you collect it through the surveys in some districts and so on. So you have to specify here what are your data collection methods. Then how you are going to disaggregate the data. This also should be agreed based on the analysis you are planning to do with this data. For example, in this case of recovered children from SAM, you would want to know it by gender, by district, and by site to make to be able to make an analysis for the cluster partners. Frequency of data collection, for example, this indicator would be monthly, and then next column, which is reached, you update on a monthly basis based on your progress. For example, you reach 76% now, or maybe 78% will be next month, and so on. And if it's possible, you calculate reach of percentage of target. For example, let's see number of healthcare workers trained in CMAM according to minimum cluster requirements, and you had your target of 100 health workers. You reached now 74, so you reached 74% of target. So we recommend that this monitor and evaluation framework is developed for all the indicators you are agreed with partners to collect and included in the HRP. And because you have this reached column which you update on the monthly basis, we recommend that once you update it, you share the monitor and evaluation framework monthly with partners to see what is your overall progress against what you wanted to achieve. So this example was just for you to review to see how it can look like, but you would of course delete it when you share it with partners and work on the framework template on the first page. I guess that's everything what I wanted to say about this, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have. And I guess you don't have any questions.